Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most important segments I've done recently. Politics is very lucrative. And when you look at the Lincoln Project, a completely disgraced political organization now. So all the morally superior liberal Democrats who retweeted the Lincoln Project because they stood up, they were the moral foundation against Trump. Well, we've seen how immoral, we've heard about the alleged despicable and disgusting behavior that they're accused of, or one of the co-founders is accused of, and you better believe that very likely all the people around that the other co-founders knew of what was taking place. In fact, it's interesting. They're so slimy. There have been reports that Steve Schmidt, not the man who Weaver is the man accused, that the FBI and others are investigating for really horrendous, atrocious activity. But Steve Schmidt, it's been reported that he tried to actually get a job with Trump before he became a never-Trumper. So they got $90 million. And now they got $90 million, $50 million of which went to their companies that were owned by the Lincoln Project co-founders. That's what's been reported. So allegedly, all that money, or the majority of that money, went to the companies that were formed by Lincoln Project co-founders. Now you have anti-Trump group launches Fox News ad by Politico. The Republican Accountability Project, which previously vowed to spend a total of $50 million to back GOP lawmakers who impeached Trump, as well as defeat his loyal supporters in office, will air the TV spots on Fox News. Now, we can go on. These people have given money to all the usuals, the senators who claim to be the moral voice, the upright, good Republicans who are going to take back the GOP from the mean, toothless monsters that support President Trump. The ignorant masses that blindly follow this menace, this orange madman. That's how Democrats and that's how never-Trumpers think of Trump. They don't look at record low unemployment for most of his tenure. It's not his fault. I can easily refute or easily defeat anyone in a debate. President Trump is not the governor of New York, and we see what's taking place in terms of investigations of the governor of New York or being recalled like the governor of California. He didn't tank the economies of states. Red states didn't tank their economies. Look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The last I checked, it was top 10 states with the highest unemployment rates were Democratic-run states. You can go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and check for yourself. Most of the top 10 or top 15 are going to be Democratic-run states. That's not Trump's fault. We had record low unemployment throughout most of his tenure. And you look, and so red states didn't, and they had better outcomes. So we can get into that. But you look at the Lincoln Project, it's being replaced now in this hilarious attempt by other organizations, the Republican Accountability Project. Adam Kinzinger, he has a political action committee. None of this is going to work, but it's going to enrich, it's going to make people very wealthy. Here's how you make money in politics, ladies and gentlemen. This is extremely, extremely important. Nobody understands this, and you can get this segment going. It's really, really important. First of all, hit subscribe to this channel right now. I will get to how you make money in politics if you are a never-Trumper or a Democratic politician. Hit subscribe to this channel. Be here at 7 p.m. Pacific. This evening, I will have a live stream tonight. It's going to be epic. It's going to be fantastic. And we're going to touch upon the things that we talked about in this segment. But I've been having a fantastic time with everybody here. It's been great. I've restarted the live stream, so they're really awesome. I have just a wonderful group of people. We had over 500 people last night. So be here tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be about 4 or 5 hours from now. But ladies and gentlemen, if you want to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, go to hagoodman.com. If you want to support my voice long term, especially in this turbulent time in politics, to my new Patreons, thank you very much. And to my Patreons, thank you. Go to hagoodman.com, or the link is below in the pinned comment and description. Ladies and gentlemen, you're a Democratic politician. You want a book deal. You can pretty much go to any publisher. You might even have literary agents and publishers and the brass of media companies who know who can connect you with, who can link you with. So it's In many ways, life is about, or sometimes life is about who you know, especially in business. So the connections. So you have a fundraiser, you're a Democratic politician, you know you're going to get favorable media coverage from CNN and MSNBC, you know the New York Times and the Washington Post isn't going to go after you. If anything, they'll write these wonderful fluff pieces about how great you are. You know you're not going to be, the algorithms and social media, Twitter, they're not going to go after you. They're not going to prevent you from actually voicing your opinion. But more importantly, you want a book deal, you're going to get a book deal. You want favorable media coverage on CNN, you're going to be, oh my God, they're going to fawn all over you. It's going to be fantastic. In terms of a philanthropic organization, the Clintons raised close to $10 billion for the people of Haiti. I wrote about that. I interviewed a brilliant journalist, Daddy Cherry, in the Huffington Post. She explained to me that about 3% of the money raised for the people of Haiti 10 years ago, only 3% of a close to $10 billion. In the New York Times, it was like $9.5 billion that the Clintons raised through various foundations. Only 3% went to the people of Haiti. Only 3%. What happened to the rest of the money? Well, there were pledges from CFOs, from other charitable organizations, from countries, from economic leaders and advisors and politicians in other countries. It was a gigantic networking extravaganza for Madam Secretary and her husband, Bill Clinton. They didn't pocket the money. They didn't pocket the money. I remember I got into a debate. I don't have Twitter. I do not have Twitter. I haven't had Twitter for close to 3 years, but I remember getting into a debate with a journalist who had been published in Politico, and he said, well, why are you accusing the Clintons of stealing money? They never stole any money. I said, yeah, they never stole money. They didn't, it's not like, what was it? What was that cartoon? Not Rocky and Bullwinkle. Who's the bad guy in Rocky and Bullwinkle where they just, run around with a knapsack full of money? It's a networking racket and scam. So they have access for future endeavors. They have access to money for future endeavors, which, let's say they want to fund, let's say they want to start a super PAC and fund other progressive politicians, which is what Clinton did. And those politicians have to rent a stage in an arena or, look at AOC and others have been accused of actually paying people they know who have companies who are strategic consultants for politicians. So if you're a political consultant and you just happen to know AOC, you just happen to know the Clintons, well, you're going to get hooked up, and in turn, you'll hook them up. It's just an ecosystem full of people who are beholden to one another. It's a finely tuned political machine. Clinton's benefit also, and others, Bloomberg, whatever. Bloomberg doesn't need a benefit, but they get speaking engagements. So Biden, for example, he came into the White House with $300,000 in financial net worth. I'll get to the Republican Accountability Project in a second. We'll get back to the Lincoln Project in a second, but he comes in with $300,000 or less in one estimate was like $30,000 in financial net worth. Okay, that was his claim to fame, that he didn't pocket a great deal of money from politics. And to his credit, he didn't. Then after he spent 8 years as President Obama's vice president, he suddenly got $9 to $10 million. Well, how did that happen? Well, maybe it was linked to the pay-to-play emails in his son Caligula's laptop that just miraculously showed up, and probably he was in a drunken stupor, and he left the laptop there. And by the way, that computer repair shop owner is suing Twitter because those emails were not hacked. Those emails were pristine emails, almost certainly. Caligula, Biden's son, and Biden's administration, Biden's campaign never disavowed those emails. Wonder why? Okay? The emails say, hey, we have to give 10% to the big man. Who do you think the big man was? How can you use your influence on behalf of the company that's paying you hundreds of thousands and millions a year over many years? Thank you, and Biden lied about numerous times about while he was vice president meeting his son's business associates. Well, these are emails with people saying, thank you for allowing us to meet, connecting us with your father. It was an honor to meet him. So then the rebuttal is, well, you don't know if they met. It's like, well, yeah, I guess you don't know if they met, but you know what? You wouldn't be so concerned with playing devil's advocate if it were Donald Trump Jr. or Jared Kushner or Eric Trump, which is why most Americans don't trust media. And that's a fact, because most journalists have a specific agenda that ties in to a great deal of money for politicians on the left, or never Trumpers, which gets back to Lincoln Project people. So, I mean, that's just a couple of ways. If you're a Democratic politician and you get caught, for example, falling in love with a foreign intelligence operative, you better believe the FBI is not going to go after you in the same way they went after President Trump with a Steele dossier. Okay? That's just, I mean, Eric Swalwell, the New York Times, the Washington Post, they're not investigating. Could you imagine if Ted Cruz, for example, had an affair with an intelligence operative? It would be endless coverage. Like, he shouldn't have gone to Cancun. That was completely wrong. Even if his daughters were going to go, he should have canceled the trip and said, nope, you're not going. We can't do this. You know? So, his excuse, well, I wanted to, take my family. You should have just canceled the trip. Okay? You're not going to Cancun, sorry. I'm senator, and, Texas is experiencing some, really terrible things. And so, but if it was Ted Cruz who who dropped off a laptop, or if it was Josh Hawley, or if it was, as it is right now, Richard Burr, he had very shady stock transactions. So did Dianne Feinstein. Both of them investigated Trump. One Republican, one Democrat. Where's the media coverage? Where's the investigative journalism? So you're shielded from all this negative activity. You're getting the speaking engagements. And so with Biden, let me backtrack. How did Biden get all that money? Well, they say speaking engagements and book deals. Have you heard Biden speak? Have you read a book from Biden? No. Okay, very likely a bunch of malarkey. But you're going to get the book deals. You're going to get the speaking engagements. You're going to get the social media algorithmic love. You're going to get hooked up. People have accused me of, oh, well, you went from Bernie Sanders to Trump because of money. It's like, what? That's less. I was acting on principle, not financial concerns. But again, you'd have to be like, if the lucrative world, the money-making world is promising Medicare for all and then pretending it's not possible, but definitely impeaching Trump twice. So when Democrats don't have the votes to actually kick out see, he was acquitted twice. They didn't have the votes to actually convict Trump, but they still did it, which shows you how duplicitous and disingenuous they are. So Jimmy Dore is a hero. He's calling them out. And he's saying, look, he wants universal basic income, well, a Green New Deal legislation, but he really wants Medicare for all. AOC promised all of that. And then she says, nah, I can't do it now, but you could definitely impeach Trump even though you don't have the votes to actually convict him. So they're all hypocrites on the left. It's a racket. What Jimmy Dore did is fantastic. But see, again, what does this have to do? Why did I spend 13 minutes on this? Ben Sasse, Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, they know pretty much that they're not going to, if they don't know this, they should, but they probably know that they're not going to take over the Republican Party. They're politicians, so they think probably anything's possible. Mitt Romney probably thinks he'll be nominee, and if he is ever a nominee, Biden would annihilate him in 2024. So I don't see Mitt Romney being nominee, but again, and losing again. But these never Trump politicians, fantastic. They know that they're not going to take over the GOP or Republican Party. They know that 74 million Americans voted for President Trump. A great many, probably 20 to 30 million, would never vote for, or at least 10 million, would not vote for a Mitt Romney or Ben Sasse. They know that because President Trump was able to preside over the beginning of peace between North and South Korea and the Abraham Accords because he doesn't do business as usual. He was able to have record low unemployment throughout most of his tenure because he doesn't do business as usual. He doesn't play that game. Now, thank God he's not on Twitter. Twitter was a trap for President Trump. It overshadows accomplishments. But the Republican Accountability Project will get, what? Where did the $50 million come from? $50 million? Where are they getting this money? It's a gigantic racket. It's a money-making, they don't pocket the money. They have political consultants that make money. And the political consultants know media people. And the media brass then know publishers. And then the publishers give Democratic politicians or never-Trumpers big book deals. And then the books are then pumped through whatever. You can pick any CNN, MSNBC. And then the New York Times and the Washington Post and all the other publications give favorable media coverage. And you better believe if you get a speaking engagement, whether you're Janet Yellen or Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars for a couple of hours. And that's access also. Because but Janet Yellen's different. But Clinton, they're not asking her for her immense foreign policy, expertise or knowledge about financial markets. Bill Clinton, yes, they are asking. But it's like, because, he was the former president, whatever. But the thing is, it's a racket. The never-Trumpers were, oh my God, Steve Schmidt was just on Bill Maher. These people are propped up because they don't have ideas. The President Trump's ideas, his populist ideas, are good. Renegotiating trade deals, that's a good idea. Turning NAFTA into the USMCA is a good idea. You can disagree with it, you can argue and debate, but it's still a good idea. I mean, it's better than NAFTA was, but you can have a debate and discussion. But a great many people said we had to renegotiate NAFTA. A great many people said the Trans-Pacific Partnership was nonsense. Just go ahead and engage in tariffs. Again, nobody knows, the left, most people on the left don't know why anyone would vote for Trump. They don't care. And President Trump fed it, he bought into that, or he fell for that trap, because Twitter just allowed him to become this caricature, this monster, this hysterical, raving lunatic that the left wanted to paint him from day one. But again, being a never-Trumper is just as lucrative and just as much of a money-making endeavor as being a Democratic politician. So Adam Kinzinger, Ben Sass, Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, everyone who's getting funded by the Lincoln Project, their skeletons are out in the closet. They're completely radioactive. Nobody wants to go within a mile of them. They're completely disgraced. So why don't we just start a new one? Republican Accountability Project. Nobody cares on the left. Their goal is to just prop up this public relations world where Trump is horrible and even people within his own side don't like him. And along the way, they make a lot of money. Politics in the United States of America and around the world. But you think it's not like this. You think that other countries are more corrupt than we are. We have, it's called legal graft. Tammany Hall engaged in legal graft and also legal graft. You don't need to give a Democratic politician or a never-Trump Republican, you don't need to give them money in their pockets. You just hook them up. And like I said, it could be a book deal, it could be speaking engagements, it could be favorable media coverage, it could be a scandal and controversy that any Trump Republican would have, been endlessly investigated for, but they get off scot-free. And so, look at the $20 million venture capital people. There's an organization on YouTube, a very, very popular, millions of subs, and they got $20 million from venture capital people. They also had a racial discrimination lawsuit. They've had a whole bunch of controversies where Bernie Sanders couldn't even endorse the founder. Okay. Hey, unendorsed, sorry. We can go on forever. Do they get? Do they get held accountable? No. Even they kept saying for years, we need Medicare for all. Well, Jimmy Dore says, let's go ahead and do it. You have the House, the Senate, the presidency. They say, no, that's wrong. It's wrong. It's a gigantic racket and grift. It's the money. You can build a company up from scratch, or you can become a Democratic politician and never take the risk of starting a company, but find yourself a millionaire within years. How do you think that happens on a government salary? That's how they got Aldrich Ames and Robert Hansen, like actual people who committed treason. That's how they got these people, because they said, well, you know what? I mean, on a government salary, you're driving a Jaguar. How does that work? Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. This is an extremely important segment. I don't think people understand how politicians make so much money, and the allure to being a never-Trumper. Give me your thoughts. Hit subscribe. Be here at 7 p.m. tonight. 7 p.m. tonight on this channel. Thank you, everybody, for the live stream.